You know your loved person better than most other people. And if you're noticing something's not right, ask about that. And asking directly about whether someone is feeling hopeless and having suicidal thoughts will not make it worse. It will connect you with them and allow you to work with them to get the support and the help they need. When we're having these really important conversations about suicide, something to kind of hold in mind is the difference between somebody having thoughts of suicide, where they just can't see the point of carrying on and they don't think things are ever going to get any better and that people will be better off without them, those thoughts, and actually having an active plan, being suicidal. We can talk about how each of those are difficult, but there is a distinction. And when we're thinking about how we support people, it's helpful to kind of remember that so that we don't get so frightened that the fact that somebody is maybe having a thought of suicide means that they're in active risk right now. How can we tell if someone's having suicidal thoughts? You know, it is the million-dollar question. And there are things that we can look out for. You know, people sometimes say things like, what's the point? And I don't know if I can go on. They actually say things that suggest they're really struggling and feeling hopeless. Other times it may be changes in kind of mood or personality or behavior. There were folk who are more withdrawn or more irritable or just sad. Yeah. What we're going to think about is the importance of kind of picking up on any of those signs and those hooks. But what we also need to remember is that sometimes we can't tell and we don't know. And that's not our fault if we haven't noticed a change, if we haven't noticed a sign. But as I say, those ideas where people may be giving us hints through changes in their personality or their behavior. And obviously sometimes they can be things that look positive. Somebody might start to have been through a really difficult time and sometimes start to look as if everything's better. And again, that's a challenging one to look out for, isn't it? So why would you think that would be a clue that someone is feeling suicidal? You may just be really glad that they're feeling a bit better, but we know sometimes that people experience some relief when they've made that decision, and that kind of uplift after a difficult time can sometimes be a warning sign. I think if we are concerned about somebody, the best approach is to ask directly. And that's both asking directly, are you okay? It's maybe saying you seem like things are kind of weighing you down or that you're kind of struggling a bit. And also to ask directly at some point about, are you having thoughts of suicide? We know from people who have been in that place that somebody asking them that doesn't increase the risk of it happening. And the really important thing about asking that question is it makes a bridge to somebody who's in that lonely, difficult place. We know what is going to help people get through this is feeling connected to other people. And having these suicidal thoughts, whether it's an active plan or whether it's part of a sense of hopelessness or reactive to a lot of stress that's around, that what having that direct conversation allows us to do is to see what we can do to help. It gets us alongside them and they're not on their own in that place with those scary thoughts. There are a whole range of services out there that can support people who are struggling. There can be challenges accessing them at times, but they are there and it's worth persisting. And I guess the other thing is not to underestimate the power of what you're offering right now. Sometimes people don't need complicated psychotherapy. What they need is to know that someone cares and to have that sense of being listened to and not judged and that they matter. Lots of people worry about getting it wrong, even if they don't think it's going to make somebody hurt themselves, but they worry that they'll offend them or they'll upset them, or perhaps that they'll hear something that they don't feel able to manage. It's really painful to know that somebody you care for is in that really difficult place. And also you may worry that you're going to mess it up or get it wrong. And the message I would give as a professional, but also as someone who has worked a lot with people who've been in those places and who've told me about the things that help them, is that what we pick up is people's kindness and their intent. We don't, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Maya Angelou or Oprah who says, we remember how people make us feel, not what they say. And as long as we come from a place of care and a willingness to help, people will hear that. And it doesn't matter if you get the words messed up. what people will notice is that you're interested and you want to help. If we're thinking about what sorts of help people might need, to get them through this really difficult time, and I'm thinking of one of the other films on this site where Neil talks about the light at the end of the tunnel, and what we're often doing in supporting somebody who's in that really dark place is kind of holding the hope for a little while for them, when they can't find it themselves. It's about listening. It's about finding out what they need, what they think is driving this difficulty. And a big message is that we don't have to have all of the answers. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to come up with a plan. But we need to be curious and interested to find out what's contributing to someone being in this place. And it's interesting if we think about practical support, because actually lots of people's difficulties may have a solution that we can try and help with. Maybe the reason people are feeling hopeless is they're not in contact with their kids, or they're wondering how they're going to pay their bills, or they've lost their job. And it's not fixing something to have that conversation and say, well, let's have a think about what we might be able to do to get some help with that, so that the support you might be able to help people access won't only be about mental health support. It may be about those real life issues that are causing people so much stress. If we are supporting someone who's in a difficult place, then, we need to take care of ourselves too. And whether that's the idea that you can't pour from an empty vessel, or the kind of air stewardess who tell us that we have to fit our own oxygen mask first, in the same way as the kind of plans the people we're supporting need to include a network of folk who can help them and things they can do to look after themselves, to pick up their mood. If we're supporting people, we need to have those things in place for us too. And it's one of the reasons we talk about kind of maybe not in keeping secrets, not sort of it's not that we're going to tell everybody somebody's business, but we might need to say, I need to be able to tell someone that I'm supporting you and I need a bit of help as well. There's also an issue about boundaries, and sometimes people find themselves in positions where the person they're supporting them is relying on them on a very great deal. I mean, that's a wonderful privilege, isn't it, that someone is doing that, but we have to be realistic about what we can do. And we can't be the only kind of hook that somebody's holding on to. And taking, answering calls 24/7. And, so we both need to really try and encourage people to access those professional supports if they need them. And also to say to the person, if we think, I need, I can't do this on my own, I'm here for you, but we need some other people in our team to help with this. So just, because that goes back to that guilt that we talked about, really, about when sometimes we feel all of that responsibility then on us. We need to share that and have other people who can help us, and we need to look after our own mental health.